I'm going to show you how to replace leveling cable on a Shorestation boat lift. This is a 2,600 pound lift. You can do it in the water. I replaced this one a year ago in the water after it broke. So it can be done. A little trickier though. Make sure not to drop any of your parts or nuts or bolts or anything, which I did, so you had to fish those out. It took about 3 hours for this one, and just replaced the other one today. It took about 45 minutes. So I can show you some tips and tricks on how to change your own leveling cable. Sometimes they're frayed, even though they might look okay out here. They could be frayed up inside the aluminum I-beam. Sometimes there's like gravel and stuff in there, and that's what ended up happening to this one. Frayed on the inside and then broke. Some tools that you'll need, or that I use: 2 ratchet straps. Hold up the lift deck while you're working, because it's going to drop as soon as you, unless it's already broken, but you know, once you cut the cable, it's going to drop. And then you can also use these during the process to kind of raise and lower it if you need to. You need a 10-foot pole. This is off a pruning pole. It's adjustable. A way to cut your cable if it's not already broken: use a Sawzall. It's helpful to have either an impact, pneumatic impact, or a breaker bar, because you're going to have to take these 2 nuts off, which are probably going to be seized or never having come off before. But it's not too bad. But yeah, I definitely need something that can take those off. So yeah, how I do this is get the ratchet straps on first, and then I just go right ahead and cut the cable off. Actually, first I broke these loose. Break those loose in case, you know, you cut your cable and then can't get the bolts off and then you're screwed. So yeah, I got those broke free, left them in place, cut the cable, and then on land it's a lot easier, but you gotta get this fed out from underneath, because there is no way in hell you're gonna get this nut to come off. So obviously it's in there like that, so it just kind of feeds out the bottom. If you have, I forget what those are called, but the leveling plates on there, it's helpful if it's, you know, tons of room. But if you're in the water, you know, this one doesn't have it because it sits right on the bottom of the lake. That you may have to lift this whole thing up, which I can show you a tool I made, like a little homemade little crank crane to lift the whole lift up if you need to. So yeah, cut that out, get the old cable out, and then you get your pulleys out. So you break your nuts free, and one thing that works well is you lower the whole deck so that this can drop down lower, and then this will be loose, so you can get some get your pole. This is when your pole comes in handy. So once this is dropped down, you'll have room to shove your pole in and push that pulley all the way out the other side. You see this one just comes out right there really easy. And then there is a little metal bushing inside the pulley that, especially if you're doing this in the water, you don't want to lose. So as soon as you slide this pulley out, there's going to be a metal bushing that can fall right out, so just be careful. So I don't know where you would get that replaced if you lose it. And then to put the new one in, let's use this as an example. I like to get this fed first. Put your nut on, take your end without any pulleys in, get your new end up inside It's in my finger. Get your new one up inside and then feed the new end all the way in. And then have it come out, but you don't have to put it in, you don't have to install it right away. You just have the new end kind of hanging out like this. Then you take your first pulley, and that one rides, well, you really can't see it from this angle, but the pulley goes underneath the cable, and you gotta shove that pulley all the way up inside there. If you think that you can do a trick, if you think you can pull this out, drop it way down and take the cable and pull it out, put the pulley in, and save time there, I'm telling you, you can't. It took about 45 minutes to an hour on the first cable to find out that you can't do that. So don't waste your time. So you get your first pulley in, you take your long pole and you just push the pulley all the way up in there. Get your nut. They're really easy to align. You just kind of keep tapping it in until your hole appears in the pulley, and then pop your nut in, your bolt I mean. And you don't have to tighten it or anything yet. And then this one's pretty easy. You just lay your cable flat, put your pulley in there, and then you feed your cable in so it's all kind of set and ready to go. This bolt can sometimes be a little tricky. I don't know if I can get an angle or light on here, it's kind of sunny out. Anyway, so if you think that this bolt is going to hit this pole here, that's when the straps come in handy, because you can kind of raise and lower the deck until you'll find an angle that the bolt will come out, even though if it looks like it's going to hit. And then you just feed your cable up, attach it up top, put your nuts on. I have no idea if there's a torque spec for this or not. I just kind of tighten it until it sounds tight, feels tight with the impact, and then obviously make sure these are still free to move. And that's really about it. Took about 45 minutes. And yes, these are next to go. Those are pretty bad. Here's that crank I was talking about that I used to lift the boat lift out of the water, out of the muck, if you need to. It's homemade, obviously. Just two 8-foot 2x4s, 2x6 at the bottom. When I actually use it in the water, I'll add a 4-foot 2x6 to the bottom of that, so it can it doesn't just keep sinking into the muck. It floats, obviously, so it's a little tricky to use to get set up, but once you got it, it's not so bad. But it just has 2 pulleys. They're just off of Amazon, nothing special. And so when I use it, I pull this all the way down, run a heavy duty ratchet, just the strap, along the bottom of the lift from either side, about 5 feet apart, and then run the hook from the bottom all the way back up to the top, so that it's kind of like I forget what it's called, but like a snatch block or block and tackle type of rig, and start cranking, and it works pretty well. If you're really submerged and stuck in the muck, it helps to start cranking, get it going, and then use your feet or a shovel or something to get underneath the pads of the lift